The Herd, wherever you may be. However you may be listening live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Yes, I'm wearing cowboy colors out of respect for the Cowboys, who now look like they could be the best team in the NFL. I'll get to that within the hour. Herd hierarchy on a Monday. Christine Leahy joining me as always, fresh off that Bulls-Lakers game last night. I thought about you.
You did.
As I watched that on my second screen. The first screen I had the Packers.
I thought about you. I tweeted you a Rondo sandwich. I
saw
like
that.
It.
Absolutely. Well, we have a big show today. Very excited. Rained all weekend in Los Angeles. It was a football weekend. I sat in the house. I said no reason to exercise, no reason to eat good food. I just ate nachos and watched football and had a beer or two all weekend long. It was one of my favorite weekends of all time.
Sounds perfect.
It was absolutely perfect. So let me start with this. I've told this story before. There was a University of Washington study years ago. And with 99% certainty, 99%, that's pretty good, right? I mean, we know how polling goes in America. They can't even pick one out of two presidential nominees. 99%, the professor who did the study could predict if you were going to get a divorce within 10 years. Huh? He would sit down with a husband and wife in a room, interview them for an hour, and he would know with 99% certainty if it would last. How did he do that? It was very simple. He looked for two things: interruptions, eye rolls. If the couple showed a propensity of an affinity, a regularity to show even small signs of disrespect, he would watch body language. He would monitor them on tape. Little tiny small signs of disrespect, hard to notice if you went to a dinner party. Hard to notice if you went with a couple to a movie. Hard to notice unless you were a professional. But he would notice. 99% certainty. The little things matter. So I'm watching the Cowboys game yesterday, fourth quarter late. Baltimore and Dallas are two very good football teams. I mean, when it came to yards and passing and rushing, fairly even. I mean, Dallas's offensive line is great. Obviously makes every part of their team better. But Dak Prescott, fourth quarter late, did something. And I'm not sure how many of you noticed this. It was very small. Dak Prescott was on the bench in the fourth quarter, game in hand. And he has a cup in his hand. He's drinking some water. And he tosses it over his shoulder, and it just misses. And he goes over, picks it up, and puts it in the garbage. It's no big deal, right? Either it's that eye roll, that brief interruption. That doesn't look like much. But it mattered to Dak Prescott. Because the little things always become big things. Conscientious is Dak Prescott. Aware. Concerned about those around him. Surroundings. Little stuff. Now you're going to say to yourself, Colin, this is ridiculous. But I think stuff like that always becomes big stuff. That Dak Prescott on the bench, little toss over his shoulder, just because that cup didn't go in the garbage can, somebody else is going to clean it up. It bothered Dak Prescott enough to walk over and put that little paper cup in the big garbage can. It bothered him enough. That's a guy who's going to give you an extra rep at practice, who's going to open the door for a teammate, who's going to make sure everybody's included in the huddle. All that little stuff becomes big stuff. Years and years ago, 3 years ago, when I was at another network, I started noticing little things about Aaron Rodgers. They weren't massive. His stats were good. But I kept saying, man, he doesn't jibe with coaches and teammates. 3 years later, everybody now acknowledges he's a big part of the problem. And it's not his arm and it's not his feet. It's his condescending, aloof nature and his personality. We don't pay attention to little things. It's all sizzle. It's all flash. But when Johnny Manziel got drafted and came up to Roger Goodell, and it lasted 1 second, but he gave you the money sign, that is a guy who has no self-awareness. Knowing that we all thought he was an egomaniac. Knowing that we thought he was incapable of being coached. The fact that Johnny Manziel, just for 1 second, gave you a money sign, out. And that money sign ended up really being a cautionary tale of his personality. I'm going to do it my way, and I don't care about anybody else. I could break down the Cowboys. They're fairly obvious here, folks. That offensive line is the best unit in the league. Against the number one rushing defense, they had a 10-play drive, a 13-play drive, and a 13-play drive in the second half. Dallas's defense was only on the field 10 minutes in the last 90 minutes of real time. But that little thing to me mattered. It really did. Here's Jason Garrett, Cowboys coach, after the win.
What was most impressive is just how he moves on, and he handles success, he handles adversity throughout a game really, really well. It shows up in his execution throughout.
Let me segue to this. I looked at the NFL standings this morning, and there's only 9 teams right now, when you look at their record and you kind of look at their appearance, that don't feel like playoff teams. The Jets, the Bengals, the Browns, the Jags, the Chargers, the Bears, the Rams, the Niners, and the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are 4-6, but they're at Philadelphia. They play Houston, Seattle. They got to play Minnesota, go to Detroit. This puppy's over. They are an 8-8 team at best. That's not going to get it done. I will say this, Green Bay has earned one bad year. Mike McCarthy has earned the right to have a very average year. Aaron Rodgers played very, very well last night, I thought. Missed some throws. I still think his accuracy over the last several years has dipped. But Aaron Rodgers played pretty darn good football on the road last night in a very windy stadium. My problem is with the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have become an 80s rock band. They're Whitesnake. They're Poison. They're Winger. They're living off a couple big years, and let's be honest about it. They can sell out the Iowa State Fair, but do you consider the Green Bay Packers a step-up franchise? I don't. 5 years, 3 playoff wins, and one of those, they got a break with a Dez catch. In another one, they faced Joe Webb, a backup for Minnesota. This is not a step-up franchise. They have become increasingly a little like Cincinnati in the AFC. The media is enamored with them. Maybe they can sell merchandise. They're darn good at home. But in the last 25 years, with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, you got 2 Super Bowls? Baltimore has 2 with Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco. You have Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, 2 of the top 10 quarterback talents, maybe 2 of the top 5 quarterback talents last 25 years. You got 2 Super Bowls? Eli's got that. The Ravens have that. Chicago got to 2 Super Bowls with Rex Grossman and Jim McMahon. Green Bay is not a step-up franchise. When they face good teams, often on national TV, they underwhelm. They have become Poison, Whitesnake, Winger. Oh, they're popular. Oh, they can still sell out the Iowa State Fair. But do you really think of them as elite? I don't. I really don't. When there are big games and everybody in the world loves the Packers, they rarely play great football. They don't play great football in big games. They got the merchandising. They have the name. They seemingly have a great quarterback and a very good head coach. But they are not a step-up franchise. If you have Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, last night they had 6 opportunities in the second half to seize momentum. They couldn't make a play. And this isn't just random. This isn't peculiar. This is who they've become. In the biggest moments, they don't step up. Blame whoever you want. But when you have Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and that's who you have for 25 years as your quarterback, and you got a couple Super Bowls, I'm done patting you on the back, throwing parades. You should do better. Others have done better. You should be like New England. They're regularly. And remember, Green Bay has had the advantage in the NFC. Their division has mostly for the last 20 years been disorganized. Chicago's dysfunctional. Detroit's Detroit. Minnesota's been hot and cold. Can't really find the star quarterback until they found Favre for a year or 2. No excuses for Green Bay. And I think increasingly the window's closing. I think McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers don't get along. I don't think Ted Thompson likes to go the free agent route. Not many free agents want to play there. I think Stafford's got several years left. And I hope eventually Minnesota can figure it out this year because I love their roster. Mike McCarthy was at least honest after the loss.
Disappointed. Reality 4-6. We understand clearly what's in front of us. So 6 losses is put your ass against the wall, and that's where we are.
Yeah, at least he's honest. You know, here's the thing. Mike McCarthy, the thing I appreciate about him that I don't get from Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron played really well last night. Of the many things they are struggling with, Aaron's one of them. They got a lot of things. But McCarthy is so brutally honest that at least I always know the emotion of the Green Bay Packers. I'm not going to get it from Aaron. I always know where the Packers stand emotionally. Right now they're angry. Right now they're embarrassed. I've always appreciated that about any coach, any quarterback, and in this instance, Mike McCarthy. Yesterday, as I was sitting having a Stella and nachos and just having the time of my life, it was pouring rain in Los Angeles. We don't get that much. We root for it out here, actually, because we've been through, a drought for a decade. And so yesterday, I just sat back, didn't really do much, but I found once again, God, I made the mistake of going on Twitter for 5 minutes. And people, if I've got to say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. In fact, I won't say it here. I'll tell you on the other end. It is remarkable. We've come to a point now where the sports media is starting to become more and more like the political media. You're not even watching. You've made your mind up. You don't really care about accuracy. The data doesn't matter. You've picked a candidate. You're for one. You're against another. And I saw it again yesterday. We'll talk about it next. No matter how you get ready for kickoff, choose Visa and Bank Americard Cash Rewards Visa Credit Card. Let you earn cash back on all your game day essentials. Visa, everywhere you want to be. One of the things I was most bothered by the election was not the American public. It was the American political media, which decided we're going to choose a candidate and we're not even going to try to be reasonable. It doesn't matter who I vote for. It doesn't really matter. But at least make an effort to be reasonably fair. You guys know what candidate I wasn't really into, but my job is largely not to pick on people unless they deserve to be picked on. Let me tell you what the fans and the media now pick on Andrew Luck. We are all being ridiculous. Quarterbacks that throw the ball down the field will throw interceptions. Eli does. He's got 2 Super Bowls. Ben does. He's got a couple. Breeze has 1. Peyton had him. Aikman had him. Namath had him. Bradshaw had him. Favre had him. Aaron Luck has beaten Tennessee now 11 times in a row. Tom Brady has never beaten a team in his division 11 straight times. Yesterday, Andrew Luck was 3 for 3 with 3 touchdowns in the red zones. But we're now picking on him because he doesn't play well in one of the halves as he wins again. And the big knock on him yesterday was he threw a pick with 8 minutes to go in the game. Now think about this. You know how bad the Colts defense is, right? You as fans know how hot Tennessee's offense and Marcus Mariota has been. There's 8 minutes in the game left. And you think at home Andrew Luck should be conservative? Seriously, 8 minutes is multiple drives, both teams. You think with 8 minutes and a touchdown lead with the Colts defense and Marcus Mariota and that Tennessee offensive line running game and Marcus, you think they should have bottled it up and played conservative. You know who didn't throw an interception yesterday? Jared Goff. Folks, 54 times this year. That's 3 full weekends of games. 54 times. I looked it up this morning. A quarterback has thrown at least 1 interception and won a game. That would be 3 full weekends of NFL action. A quarterback has thrown at least 1 pick and won a game. Bill Parcells used to chide quarterbacks who would not throw the ball down the field. Andy Dalton doesn't throw the ball down the field. Case Keenum, Jared Goff, sometimes Tannehill. They don't throw a lot of interceptions. They don't throw it down the field. This ball that was intercepted, Tom Brady threw a similar ball yesterday, but the cornerback did not turn around, and it went for a 70-yard touchdown. Or a touchdown, I forget the yardage. We have decided, many of you have decided you don't like Andrew Luck. You do realize that interception was at the 39-yard line of Tennessee. It was no different than an average punt. It was simply a change of possession in the other team's territory. With Indianapolis defense, 8 minutes to go, not much of a running game. You don't want Andrew Luck to throw the ball down the field? Then become a Rams fan, because they don't either. You know who does throw it down the field? Oakland. They throw it down the field. Pittsburgh. That's the way you win games in this league. He's not a dink and dunk guy. He doesn't have Dak Prescott's offensive line. He doesn't have the New York Giants receivers or the New England Patriot tight ends or Belichick. He's got a defensive-minded head coach, no defense, not much of a running game. The only way they score is taking big chances. And by the way, Andrew Luck in 3 or 4 years has made the playoffs and has as many playoff wins in that time, almost that time, as Aaron Rodgers does. And we find excuses for Aaron Rodgers. Well, it's Ted Thompson. Well, it's the offensive line. You do realize Green Bay may have the third best offensive line in the league pass blocking. May not be Dallas, may not be Oakland. That Packer offensive line, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of time to throw the football. You watched that game last night. People have decided in the sports media, I don't like Andrew Luck. You've just decided it. So now with 8 minutes left in the game, leading by a touchdown with a lousy defense against a rising star quarterback, you don't want Andrew Luck throwing the ball down the field. Well, I don't want to throw in interceptions. You watch the NFL. How many star quarterbacks in this league? 4? 4? It's the hardest position in sports. And Andrew Luck's gifted, although flawed. He throws the occasional pick. When you really need to be there, you need an Interstate. The car, battery, auto, text prefer. Outrageously dependable. InterstateBatteries.com. Interstate Batteries. Peter King around the corner. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Ezekiel Elliott set the Cowboys' rookie record for rushing yards this season with the Cowboys' win yesterday over the Ravens. He has 1,102 yards. He could be a candidate for MVP. Do you think if it was going to come down between Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, who would you choose?
I think most people would give it to Elliott because I think it's their offensive line, but I think Elliott's numbers, he's going to break records. And so I think writers, that's a good story. Remember, most people thought the Cowboys shouldn't have drafted a running back with a 4th pick. That was the overwhelming sentiment among fans and media. But as we said on this show, and we all sort of believe this, when you have an offensive line as good as Dallas, you could guarantee productivity from a running back. And he was, according to all the scouts, not only a great runner, a receiver, and was also the best blocking running back out of college in years. So Jerry Jones rolled the dice. Stephen Jones said, we think with our offensive line, this guy can be a star from year one. And Jerry Jones, who we've all kind of poked fun of and we all roll our eyes at, Jerry Jones was right again with this offense.
Speaking of MVP, Tom Brady, with the Patriots win yesterday over the 49ers, tied Brett Favre for 199 wins in the NFL. So that's the second most wins for an NFL player.
Ugly game.
It was an ugly game. I'll take it. I was pleased with the outcome, but it was one away from tying Peyton Manning for all-time most NFL wins. Could he be a good candidate for MVP?
Yeah, I think there's about 5 people. Brady's going to get a lot of sentiment because I also think there's a lot of media members who think Deflategate. Now we look at Deflategate 2 years after Deflategate, and I think there's a growing belief that was sort of unfair. And, we've said this about Derrick Rose. Writers look for good stories. Voters look for good stories. Derrick Rose MVP is a great story. LeBron's the MVP of every year in the NBA. But I think Brady MVP with the Deflategate story, with looming Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a easy story to write, and it's a fun story.
Yeah. And finally, Jared Goff made his NFL debut a rainy day in LA. What a crazy sequence of events there. Finished 17 of 31 for 134 yards. No touchdown passes, but also no interceptions. Here's Jeff Fisher's thoughts on Jared Goff's performance.
As far as Jared's concerned, Did a really good job. No delay games, was in complete control, in the huddle. Did a nice job on the line of scrimmage. You can see the light. There's light there for him.
So Jeff Fisher sees the light. Did you see the light?
Well, I had a very low ceiling. I said yesterday on the Fox pregame show, if he looked under control, ran the huddle, didn't make a huge mistake, that was sort of what I was looking at. He looked like he was comfortable. He didn't have a very good first series, but I mean, he's a taller version with, I think, a better arm than Case Keenum. I actually thought Jared Goff, with the way the Rams play, was good enough. I thought essentially the Rams defense, which is their specialty, lost the game with 2 boneheaded penalties. So, Goff had this game.
I know.
They had a 10-point lead, I think, in the fourth. I watched
they blew the game for him.
Yeah, I mean, Goff was fine. He showed a little mobility. He got smoked right there. That's ugly. But again, he wasn't overwhelmed. He's not as athletic as Wentz or a Dak. But again, you look around this league, how athletic is Eli? At this point, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. He looks like a tall kid. If he played in an offensive-friendly system, he didn't look overwhelmed to me. He was fine. But it's hard to judge in this offense. Jeff Fisher knows special teams and defense, but man, when's the last time Jeff Fisher had even a top 15 offense? I couldn't name the last time.
Well, and the defense lost them the game yesterday.
Yeah.
That's the news.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
So there was a moment last night. Washington beat Green Bay. Now, Kirk Cousins comes out of Michigan State. He's the second quarterback drafted by Washington. Remember, RG3. And then Mike Shanahan says, I want to get a safety valve. Let's get Kirk Cousins. So they draft Kirk Cousins, and most of us, myself included, thought, that's weird. That's weird. You draft a star quarterback, and a few rounds later, I forget, third or fourth, you draft Kirk Cousins. And so Kirk Cousins finally gets the opportunity because RG3 run out of town, gets hurt, doesn't work. So Kirk Cousins comes in, and he puts up some decent numbers. But, he kind of looks like Ryan Tannehill. He doesn't blow you away, but he wins some games, sort of under control. And then last year, he puts up big numbers, gets to the playoffs, but again, goes to the playoff game at home and doesn't do anything. So the Redskins go, we're going to franchise tag you. We're just going to franchise tag you because we want another year to evaluate you. And so yesterday, against a really morbidly bad Packer secondary, Kirk Cousins was great. He made pre-snap reads, deadly accurate on long ball after deep throw. And after the game, here is Kirk Cousins, the win, going up to the, I believe, general manager of Washington. Here's the tape. Roll it.
How do you like me now? How do you like me now?
That's kind of intense, right? That's a little much. It's funny. Nobody does this on an island, right? Obviously, Brady wouldn't be as good without Belichick. Carson Palmer's better with Bruce Arians than he was in Cincinnati and he was in Oakland. I think Jay Gruden deserves a lot of love. It's nothing against Kirk Cousins. He's a big, strong kid. It almost looks like his arm's gotten better over the last 3 years in the league. I mean, I met him one time. Good kid. Family values, bottom line, bet early, up late, no BS. He's kind of the classic, tough, Midwestern kid, bigger than you think in person. Looks like his arm has gotten a little better. Aaron Rodgers' arm today is better than when he broke into the league. It can happen. But you sit there, and I'm like, if you're Washington, how do you not re-sign Kirk Cousins? You're going to be too good to get one of the 2 or 3 top quarterbacks. College football, on average, is only giving you one big-time quarterback a year. They're giving you Derek Carr. Now, Dak Prescott was a later-round guy. But if you look at the last 15 drafts, the NFL is getting about 1 to 1.5 quarterbacks a year from college. That's all they're getting. That's it. So I think Washington's in a situation that Kirk Cousins has proven with Jay Gruden, with a coach who's very offensive-minded. They've drafted offensive players pretty well. You got to bring him in again. So, I sat there last night and I'm like, listen, Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. He's the better quarterback talent. But you sat and watched that game. Dude is accurate. He does stuff pre-snap. It was you wouldn't want to land a plane in that win last night. He threw the ball deep, repeatedly, and accurately. There you go. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and when the ratings were down, I kept saying it's Trump and Hillary. They'll bounce back. They'll be fine. And I'm interested to see the numbers for that game last night because I thought it was kind of entertaining, even though at the end it was a blowout. But we had this big concern. I was talking to Jason McIntyre, my buddy at thebiglead.com and on Speak for Yourself, and he's like, there's no quarterbacks out there. But it's funny, as you watch it develop now, we're finding them. Dak is a franchise quarterback. We didn't know that 2 months ago. Kirk Cousins, you're not letting Kirk Cousins go. Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck now off the lacerated kidney. Russell Wilson, the last couple of weeks, and I'm not joking here, looks like the best player in the league. Russell Wilson, the last 2 weeks, isn't the best quarterback, looks like the best player, the most influential player in the league. And Jameis Winston played well yesterday. So we thought to ourselves, boy, we don't have any quarterbacks in this league. We found them. For the next 7 to 8 years, at least, we're going to have a Jameis, we're going to have a Derek Carr, a Marcus Mariota, an Andrew Luck, a Russell Wilson, a Kirk Cousins, and I'm not even mentioning Carson Wentz, who I think has a lot of talent. But at this point, there are also times, that's been a tough schedule, he looks a little overwhelmed. The other story I want to touch about this morning is Charlie Strong is probably going to be fired. And I think a lot of people, myself included, were rooting for Charlie Strong. But this is an easy one. It's an easy one for 2 reasons. 3 years in, they're under 500. They don't look any different today than last year at this time. That's the easy part. And when you look around college football at traditional powers, Jim Harbaugh turned around the program his first year. Clay Helton has turned around USC in his first year. This is not Texas Tech. It's not Oklahoma State. It's not West Virginia. Those are fine jobs. When you're at a traditional power, and there's about 8 of them, I'm not going to give you multiple years. I've said this for years. By the middle of the second year, if you're at Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, Penn State, I've got to see by the middle of the second year obvious signs you're improving. You have better resources. You can recruit better, more impactful early playing players. You also, even if you had the wrong coach, Brady Hoke, you're Michigan. You were able to recruit elite NFL bodies. I'll give you 3 full years at West Virginia, Arizona State, Oklahoma State. You go to Texas, middle of year 2, that's when Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, it pops. Clay Helton has 2 to 3 games left this season. It's worked. I think some of it's the quarterback, but give him credit, he's used the right quarterback. So that's the first part. This is a really easy choice. I was rooting for Charlie Strong. They couldn't beat Kansas. The second thing is, oftentimes we have a coach fired out the door, but we don't have a replacement. You have the perfect replacement. Tom Herman has been unbelievable at Houston, recruits the state, recruits the region, wants the job. So you have 2 things. Traditional power not winning, and you have the perfect candidate. Never forget, you could make a valid argument Texas is the best job in football in America. Alabama, their revenues in football are like $97 million. Texas, just on profits, is over $90 million. You have, look at the teams. And again, sometimes it's tough. Phil Fulmer at Tennessee, Les Miles at LSU. Those are tough guys to fire. Those guys have national titles. But in the top 25 currently, look at the teams: Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Houston, A&M. Come on now. You cannot have those teams that you recruit against in your conference, in your state, or in your region in the top 25 AP this morning, and you're a 500 team, this is an easy one. I was rooting for Charlie Strong, but between his record, the surrounding teams winning, and Tom Herman, this is easier than Brady Hoke at Michigan, and that was a slam dunk. Peter King will join us from New York next. He has got all sorts of stuff. And for those watching on FS1, stick around. Skip Bayless cannot be contained about Dak and the 9-1 Cowboys. Welcome back. We bring him on, and we decided let's bring him on a Monday. We're not on TV tomorrow. Peter King, Monday Morning Quarterback Editor-in-Chief. Must-read stuff. So I noticed, Peter, via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, Kirk Cousins and the Redskins general manager had a weird exchange. You wrote about it after the win. What did you make of that? I just showed that 5 minutes ago on the air.
Well, Colin, I think it is at minimum weird, but I do think, look, when the general manager hugs the player and the player does not hug back, but rather keeps screaming at the general manager, "How do you like me now?" I know what's going to happen. I've covered the NFL for 32 years. Scott McCloughan, the general manager, and Kirk Cousins are both going to say, kidding around, heat of the moment, just fun, emotion of the game, everything like that. But I've always thought, wouldn't football locker rooms be fantastic if there were no cooling off period? If the writers just walked in with the players right after the game, saw them get really ticked off when they did get ticked off, and saw real emotion.
Right.
I mean, we would all love that, but we don't see that. We see it 15 minutes later when everybody has had time to take a deep breath, maybe get a shower, come back to the locker, cool off a little bit, and talk like regular people rather than people who've just walked off a field where they're trying to do physical harm to the guy across from them. So I take it that Kirk Cousins, look, this is just me, because I don't know, I've not talked to anybody about it, but when I watch that, I say, Kirk Cousins is saying, hey, I've proven that last year, 4,100 yards, a great touchdown to interception ratio, 70% completions is no fluke. You should have paid me then. It's going to cost you more now.
So Jared Goff makes his debut, and we know that Jeff Fisher knows defense and special teams. I think Jared Goff is reasonably limited with this offensive personnel and this offensive scheme. Do you think it's possible, and I know this sounds pithy, but in Los Angeles, the Dodgers are winning, the Lakers are interesting, the Clippers are winning, and USC football is back, that Stan Kroenke is going to open up a new stadium in 3 years, they're playing in the old Coliseum, and that just from an optic standpoint, this team is not fun to watch, and that could cost Jeff Fisher his job?
I mean, it might, but I think this all is because Case Keenum had whatever he had, 9 games, and the Rams certainly didn't want to put Jared Goff in the game. They wanted him to be the Carson Palmer of 2003, the first pick in the draft who just watches the whole year. That's what they wanted. But the fact is, Case Keenum stunk. And, when your quarterback is not giving you a chance to win in every game, your defense is giving up 260, 270 yards, 6 points, 10 points, 12 points, whatever, and the offense can't even score 2 touchdowns. I mean, Case Keenum, 3 touchdowns in 35 possessions.
Wow.
Or something like that in his last 3 games. So, I mean, at some point, you're Jeff Fisher, you're Les Snead, you're Kevin Demoff, you say, listen, principle is great, but we've got maybe the best defense in football. Didn't look like it in the last 7 minutes yesterday, but we've got maybe the best defense in football, and the offense is just killing them. I think this was logical. It makes sense. The worrisome thing to me about yesterday, and I watched a lot of this game, is that when pressured, and Pro Football Focus had a great stat on this today, when pressured, he just didn't look very good. He didn't throw great footballs. He completed 38% of his throws when he was pressured in that game yesterday. So to me, a fairly inauspicious debut. But again, it rained his first game. No big deal. But I would have liked to have seen more out of Jared Goff.
Peter King live in New York, MMQB editor-in-chief. Great site. All right, so, I mean, what can be said that hasn't been said about the Cowboys? When I watch this offensive line in the second half wear down the Ravens, 13-play drive, 10-play drive, 13-play drive, it's no longer about, how good the Cowboys are. Am I nuts to say Seattle or Dallas are the two best teams in the National Football League? That's what my eyes tell me, Peter.
Well, I think your eyes also, everything changes almost week to week in the NFL, Colin. And 2 weeks ago, you would have said New England far and away is the best team in football. So New England has one bad game, and then in the rain in San Francisco, they have an okay game, which I thought Tom Brady made a couple of incredible throws under pressure for touchdowns in that game.
He did.
I mean, wow. And so, but be that as it may, I agree with you, but I always am hesitant, week 11, of saying, yep, Seattle, Dallas, those are the best teams in football. I even wrote this morning that, there's a good chance Seattle, Dallas NFC Championship game is going to be a significantly better game than the Super Bowl, and it may well be. But that's 2 months away. That's 9 weeks from now or something like that. So we need to give this season a little time to breathe. Who's going to get hurt? Who's going to come back from injury? Earl Thomas now out for 2 weeks with a hamstring in Seattle. That is a significant injury. How much will that affect him? Can Cam Chancellor stay on the field? On the other side, can the Dallas offensive line stay intact? There's a lot of questions about both teams and about all these other contenders. But I think if the Super Bowl were played today, I think you'd be absolutely right. The best two teams right now that we've seen the last couple of weeks, Seattle and Dallas.
I got 2 minutes to wrap it up. How does the Green Bay thing end? Or is it just Mike McCarthy has earned the right to have a non-playoff year, and it just ends with everybody coming back?
Mike McCarthy has earned the right to have a non-playoff year, although I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Dom Capers. For the last 2 or 3 years, whenever the Packers have collapsed defensively, which has been often, everybody has always said, hey, Capers a great guy. We've had injuries, this, that, and the other thing. So I think Mike McCarthy is going to have a decision to make about the defensive side of the ball. But I do think McCarthy will come back. This is not a panicky organization. In my opinion, if I am Ted Thompson, if I'm Mark Murphy, team president, if I'm those guys, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, listen, to me, a big problem that we must discuss is the play of Aaron Rodgers. This has been a full season now where he has not played well. Now, he had some great moments in Washington on Sunday night, but I think in general, if you look at Aaron Rodgers, you can't be making a lot of excuses for him. A bad downfield thrower this year. He's had enough time to throw.
Yes.
And he just hasn't played well.
Yeah. Do you have an article you want to push today, Peter, on MMQB that you like?
Well, I wrote about Ryan Tannehill, Colin, in my Monday morning quarterback column and made this point. For 4 years, we've all been saying about Ryan Tannehill, for whatever reason, choke, bad play, whatever, doesn't believe in the offense, been a lousy fourth quarter quarterback, been a lousy late quarterback.
Yep.
So in this 5-game winning streak, he's played really well late in 3 of those 5 wins. He was fantastic in these last 2 drives, 13 of 14 with 2 touchdowns in these last 2 drives against one of the best defenses in football.
Yep, and those last 3 throws on that final drive were absolutely pinpoint, small keyhole throws. Go to his site, I Do Daily, MMQB, editor-in-chief Peter King, rushing upstairs to New York to help us out. Thank you, Peter.
All right, Colin.
Yeah, Tannehill yesterday at the end of the game made 3 throws, and I'm not kidding you. They were the size of like a cantaloupe. You had to get the ball in a tiny little window, and I watched the entire game. And it was awful. And Tannehill, there was a moment late in that game, and it was about 7 minutes to go. Tannehill took over, almost threw another interception. but his energy was great. He had a little Derek Carr thing going, little Russell Wilson. He was very optimistic. He was pumping the guys up in the huddle. He made 3 incredible throws, back to back to back. The touchdown throw, a little tiny keyhole. I mean, that's an NFL quarterback. That is an NFL quarterback. He played really bad for most of the day and then great late. Where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. To start next hour on a Monday with Christine Leahy, we are just starting. Drew Bledsoe joining us, Mike Lombardi joining us, and we're breaking news in an hour on Tony Romo. It's The Herd. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. I did not shave today. There's a reason for it. I'm not going to get into particulars.
Wait, I feel like it's really good.
No, I can't talk about it.
Did you have a late night?
No, I didn't have a late night, but I'm not going to shave for a few days. I'm not going to get into particulars here, but I can't shave for a couple days.
Did you run out of razors?
I got a big... Yeah, I'm just not going to get into it. It's
That's
like
so weird.
I'm just a mess. See the side of my face? You see that big cut thing?
Oh, yeah. What'd you do? Did you get into a fight?
And I can't talk about it. I have a big cut in the side of my face, and that's why
that's why you can't shave.
Well, I can't shave or I'll recut it, reopen the cut.
How did you get a cut on your face?
That's exactly it. I can't talk about it. I don't even know why I brought it up.
What did you do this weekend?
Again, I don't even know why I brought this up. I brought it up, and I thought, don't bring it up. I brought it up, and now you're talking about it. Now I'm going to have a bunch of people asking about it. It's going to sidetrack the show. We got a lot of good stuff.
Can I just ask one more question about it?
Sure.
Are there any other injuries on your body that we can't see right now?
No, this was it. It was just a flesh wound to my face.
I know how most people get flesh wounds to their face.
No, I sat on a couch all weekend.
Okay.
All I did, I didn't even consider exercising. I barely communicated with others. A couple people entered the room. I said, if you'd like to watch the game, my wife did it again last night, by the way.
She asked too many questions.
She walked into the room and started asking questions about defensive strategy.
I think that's lovely.
Oh, God. And she looked at me and she goes, "Are you going to make fun of me on the air like you did last week?" "Oh, it was really funny. I come in to give you a kiss and watch football, and you make fun of me for 15 minutes. And I'm like, "You don't even listen to my show." She's like, "Well, I did that day. That's why the last couple of nights you've slept on the couch."
In your media room, I support Ann. She wants to understand the game so she can enjoy it with you.
You know what? Then watch the NFL Network for like 12 straight days. I want to explain how.
Why would she do that when she has her husband who's an NFL expert and can just break it down for her?
I don't want to be an expert. I want to watch the game. Does a doctor want to come home and say, "Honey, I think you have arthritis in that joint and you got the neck injury"? Doctor wants to come home. He's been a doctor all day. I just want to come home and watch the game. I want to talk about it. I don't want to be an analyst. It's rough. All right, we do it every week at this time. Where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. There was a lot of both. Let's roll the tape.
Where Colin was right?
Blazing 5. Listen, if you want free money, listen on Fridays. Otherwise, don't. 3-2. We told you, take Buffalo over Cincinnati. Miami was going to beat the Rams. And I said, Chicago wasn't going to beat the Giants, but don't trust the Giants as a touchdown favorite at home. We're having a very good year. I am considering a Thanksgiving Blazing 5, and I've never done that before.
Wow.
Because it's an odd week, and but I'm so hot now, I'm almost considering having a Blazing 5 Thanksgiving edition.
Where Colin was wrong.
I got to be honest. I would have franchise tagged Kirk Cousins. I didn't see him as a franchise quarterback. I saw him as an excellent backup. And some of this is Jay Gruden, but I mean, you can't deny it. He looked great, and that was a nasty win last night. That win was, again, you wouldn't want to land a small plane in that stuff. He threw better against the wind than I thought Aaron Rodgers often did with the wind. And between the chip on his shoulder, he's got good size. I think his arm's gotten better.
How do you like me now?
Yeah, I like you now more than I did. I was wrong. It looks like I'm not. Hey, what does college football give me that I can't get from Kirk Cousins? I mean, they're going to be a playoff team. They made the playoffs last year. I'm not going to get better than that in college. I know who's coming out of college, and I don't have a chance to get him because I'm going to end up with 9-10 wins.
Where Colin was right?
I am a non-traditionalist. Now, that doesn't mean everything new is better. But when the NFL said we're going to change our PAT and make it difficult, I said it's going to be great. Because it's going to add drama. And what is sports without drama? This is one of the reasons I absolutely love the NFL. They're always looking to pay the fan off. They're always looking out for you, the fan. Sometimes as a detriment to their players and coaches, to their employees. They're always concerned about how it plays to you, the fan. And this may drive coaches crazy, but they missed 12 extra points yesterday, an NFL record. You can no longer get up and go get a soda during the PAT. It is changing how coaches coach and how games are decided.
Where Colin was wrong.
This is sort of like what they call in the insurance business an umbrella policy. I've been wrong on Dallas basically with everything. I mean, I got the Dak thing wrong. I got their record wrong. Week to week, I'm wrong. Their defense is 1,000 times better than I thought it could be. The Romo situation wrong. The good news is...
where Vegas was wrong.
Yeah, Vegas has been wrong too. Vegas is 0-9-1 against the Dallas Cowboys against the spread. So I'm not the only one, but I deserve a big fat wrong.
Where Colin was right.
For 3 years. Sometimes you have to eat a dirt sandwich for a couple of years when you know your point is right. And I told you for 3 years, as Andy Dalton was putting up these yards, he's pedestrian. He's just got a solid head coach, terrific scouting department, a good O-line, excellent tight ends, terrific receivers, and good running backs. He was driving a Mercedes. Just because he didn't drive it into a tree doesn't mean he's Mario Andretti. Well, what happens? He loses his coordinator. Tyler Eifert's been hurt. They lose Marvin Jones to Detroit. What's happened to Andy Dalton? How do you like me now? I don't. Even less. He's an average quarterback who, he's only had multiple touchdown games twice this year. He's just an average quarterback.
Where Colin was wrong.
I still think San Francisco at 1-9 is trying to get the number one pick, but I'll eat it now. Chip Kelly was 20-12 in his first 2 NFL years, and he's 7-18 since. Listen, I don't like their owner. I think their general manager, Trent Baalke, fired Harbaugh for a high school track coach. So I think organizationally, they've got all sorts of issues. And Colin Kaepernick trying to play from behind is not an effective NFL quarterback. But right now, his teams have no direction and are largely not competitive in most second halves. So right now on Chip Kelly, I'm wrong.
Where Colin was right.
I said it before the weekend. USC was going to win the remaining games on their schedule. They would bounce UCLA, and they're going to bounce Notre Dame. And I've talked about this a couple of times if you're a daily listener. There's this kid named Sam Darnold. I went and watched him, the quarterback. I said, they started the wrong quarterback against Alabama. Sam Darnold's the future of the program. I went and saw him play his first practice at USC. Cody Kessler was on the field, and they did a cone drill. And I walked up to Steve Sarkisian, then coach, and I said, he is so much better than any quarterback I have seen here since Carson Palmer. And he goes, Sark said to me, he has a chance to be Andrew Luck. I don't know if they're still a great coach team. I don't. But right now, USC, outside of Alabama, can go toe-to-toe with anybody in this country. They're playing great on defense and special teams, and Sam Darnold is a complete program difference maker.
Where Colin was wrong.
NFC East. I said right before the season, I thought this would be the weakest division in football. My prediction was everybody would be average, and they'd only be average because they would just beat themselves. Well, Dallas is 9-1. Inexplicably, I don't even know how the Giants are 7-3. Washington is a really, really dangerous team. 6-3-1. And Philadelphia may have the best offensive-defensive line combo in the entire National Football League. I thought they'd be 5-11. They're 5-5, and that's with a tough schedule. This is now arguably the best division in football. Some of it's just been Dallas has been a shocker. But I got to tell you, even the Giants, I don't have an answer why the Giants are what they are, but I look up every weekend, and the Giants, remember, one team has beaten the Cowboys this year. It was the New York Giants in Dallas. This division has an argument that it's the very best. And not only is it the very best, you may have some of the best units in the NFL. The Cowboys' offensive line's the best unit. The Giants' wide receivers are the best wide receivers. And Philadelphia's defensive and offensive lines are outstanding. Wow, was I wrong on this division. Good to have you in. It is funny that one of the things people have always argued, and I'm a college football fan, I like the NFL more, but increasingly college football drives me crazy. It's the only sport you're not allowed to improve. And sports is great because of drama, right? Win, lose, drama. USC has won now, is it 7 or 8 straight? I think it's 7 or 8 straight. Okay, it's 7 straight. They're going to beat Notre Dame 8. If Utah beats Colorado, has a chance to, USC will be in the Pac-12 championship. Whoever they play, they're going to win that game too. That's 9. Their bowl game could be the Rose Bowl against the loser of Ohio State, Michigan, could be 10. USC could end up, and I'm telling you, everybody they're lined up to play, they're going to beat. They're not Alabama. Nobody else is. USC could be on a 10-game winning streak at the end of the year and not be included in the Final Four. They'll finish second or third in the ratings. But that's one of my problems with college football. You're not allowed to improve. In college basketball, you can literally be dog hurl for 5.5 months, win your conference tournament, and win the whole thing. In the NFL, you can take September and the early portions of October off and win the Super Bowl. In baseball, first 60 days can struggle. But in college football, if you have a bumpy September, you can win in September. But if you have a bumpy September, even if you go on an 8-game winning streak and blow most of them out, doesn't matter. Season, you can't play for the championship. It's one of the reasons, not just USC, if you're rooting for drama, that's what I've said for years, the NFL always worries about you, the fan. The NFL's number one concern is always you, the fan. Let's change the PAT. It's too boring. Let's get more offense in. Let's protect the quarterbacks. The NFL's always worried about you, the fan. College football, it's about each conference individually worrying about themselves, protecting their turf. All this does for USC, that it makes everybody look at every school in the country, why take a risk in September? Why play a good team? Why play in Alabama? Why play a Wisconsin? Why play a Michigan out of conference? If you're not allowed to improve or stumble early, it will scare athletic directors and coaches from scheduling good games. You lose as a fan. Congratulations, you'll get Citadel and Iowa State at home. But the NFL always worries about you, the fan, and your experience. College football is a bunch of power brokers and their respective conferences protecting their records, playing 4 body bag games to ensure as close as they can get to a perfect record to get to the Fiesta Bowl or better. That doesn't reward you at all. When's the last time an Iowa fan was rewarded for their season ticket with a good out-of-conference game at home? How about we start with not in 2 decades? College football with an 8-game playoff in the macro level would encourage programs to schedule better games. How great was the first week in college football this year? Do you remember that? Wisconsin, LSU, Notre Dame, Texas, Alabama, USC, regardless of the outcomes, you were rewarded as a fan. Wouldn't you want that every other weekend? We've had 4 weekends this year in college football that you go into a weekend and you're like, it's like 2 games I want to watch. I'm going to have Mike Lombardi on in about 5 minutes. I can't figure the New York Giants out. He calls them a Ponzi scheme. It's funny. Lombardi's like the Giants of the Ponzi scheme. They're the Bernie Madoff of the NFL because none of the returns match the win. You're like, how are you 7-3? I will say this for the Giants. Their receiving core is outstanding. Their offense, though, sputters. They can't run the football. They have a nice secondary. They've drafted the secondary well, good corner, good safety. But their pass rush is hit and miss. Their linebackers are average. They can't run the football. They still make too many mistakes. They can never put anybody away. All their games are closer than they should be, and they're 7-3. Like Washington is 6-3-1, but I buy Washington because when I watch Kirk Cousins and that offense, yards, they're never 3 and out. Washington is always extending drives, and they keep the ball away. I mean, that's what Dallas is doing right now. You can give all the credit you want and all the awards you want, and I'm not an award person. Here's what I know about Dallas. When I was a kid growing up in football, they always said you start with a defensive line. That was always the rule. You start with a defensive line. But the Rams have a great defensive line. What does it mean? The Eagles have a great defensive line. They're 500. To me, in 2016 with the rules, it starts with the offensive line. If I was an NFL general manager, and this is the sort of dorky stuff I think about, we all know that you draft a quarterback first, right? If we were all general managers and we had 8 draft picks or 7 draft picks, and you knew they were all going to be successful players, we would all start with quarterback. Duh. But after that, I think I'd go left tackle, pass rusher, center, corner. I mean, I'm starting to think now, because Dallas's offensive line pays everybody else off. It pays the secondary off. Dallas is never on the field in second halves. A great defensive line doesn't make your offense better. The Rams are a great example. The Eagles are a great example. But a great offensive line makes your defense better. Dallas is fresh in every second half. That defense is just sitting on the sidelines. And, you can say Dak's this and Ezekiel Elliott's that. If you put Dak and Ezekiel with the Indianapolis Colts offensive line, they're not having this season. That's not to say Dak and Ezekiel aren't terrific players. But if I said to you, what are the 5 best units in the NFL? What are the 5 best overall units? Not teams, not side of the ball, the 5 best units in the NFL. I think I would go Cowboys offensive line is number 1. I think I'd go the Seahawks back 4, their secondary. I would probably go Giants wide receiving core, Rams defensive front line, and the Panthers linebackers. But I got to tell you, the gap between the Cowboys offensive line, the Seahawks secondary, and the remaining 3 seems significant. When you watch the Seahawks secondary, it just looks better than everything else in the league, except the Cowboys offensive line. Yesterday against the Ravens, the best rush defense, in the second half, they had a 13-play drive, a 13-play drive, and a 10-play drive. Do you know how rarely in the NFL a team has one 13-play drive? They had 2 and a 10-play in the second half against Baltimore. It is, they have arguably, well, not arguably, they have 3 Pro Bowlers. I'd argue they have 4. Some people are now saying you could make an argument for 5 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. I mean, in the second half of that game, they are just, Ezekiel Elliott doesn't have to even be clever. Cole Beasley, Dak doesn't get touched. And again, this is not some anti-Dak, anti-Dez, anti-Ezekiel, but, just sit and watch the games as a fan. Just like the plays right. Look at this. Look at that play right there. There's no penetration. There's always a nice cushion around him. 2, 3, 3.5 seconds. Forget 4. Look at there. He stepped. Now there he does a good job to step up. Now, he's athletic. There's no doubt in that. It's just leaning on people. Always time to throw. Always a running lane. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
The Ravens are the latest team to lose to the Cowboys 27-17 yesterday, but Joe Flacco strongly believes that his team should have been the one to hand the Cowboys their second loss of the season.
We should beat this team. And I'm not kidding. I felt very confident coming into this game, and I really feel like we should beat this team. We should beat pretty much every team we play. And the couple that you lose, you hurt yourself and you lose them.
He really believes it. The Ravens are 5-5, so what is he talking about?
I think they're good. I actually think they're, listen, it's Philadelphia and Baltimore gave Dallas good games, and the Giants beat them. So, it's the thing with Dallas, though, they don't turn the ball over. Ezekiel doesn't fumble, and Dak doesn't throw picks, so, it's Dallas they're a tough out. They don't make any mistakes. Baltimore made a couple of late mistakes. They didn't.
So it's another win for Dak Prescott while Tony Romo is on the sidelines. And now Jerry Jones is explaining what he expects out of his backup quarterback.
Tony wants, and we want, and I want him to be ready to go in a nanosecond when it's called for. And that's what he's prepared to do. And my experience in football with that top position at quarterback is that ultimately you need him.
It's a tough situation. What do you do when your backup is Tony Romo? How do you treat him? Do you treat him as a typical backup?
Well, he's your friend. I mean, Tony's not dumb. I mean, again, Tony doesn't lack self-awareness. Tony can figure it out. I mean, where you'd struggle with is an egomaniac who just can't. I mean, listen, it's Tony Romo was undrafted and ended up being a great player for a decade.
Right.
This is a willful human being. He doesn't like this, but there's a lot of things in life you don't like. Like when you get married, you got to sacrifice. When you play team sports, as you get older and you get beat up, you have to sacrifice. That's the way it works.
So you said you thought maybe the Jets would be a destination.
He's
for
not
him?
going there. He's not going there. They're not good enough for him. Tony Romo's got options. They're not going to the Jets.
I said last week I thought the Broncos would be interesting.
Yeah.
It could be kind of a second Peyton Manning happening. But now there's a real report out there that says that Tony Romo could be eyeing the Broncos in the offseason. It's just going to be up to John Elway whether he thinks he wants to give Paxton Lynch a little more time and decides that Trevor Siemian is definitely not the guy for him. Do you think that could be a good space for him?
He's going to go to a playoff roster. Arizona, Houston, and Denver feel like they're good enough for Tony Romo.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting.
By the way, all those have offensive coaches. Bruce Arians, Gary Kubiak played in the league, and Bill O'Brien. Those are also not just good fits. They're offensive-leaning franchises.
So the Broncos will just become the destination for once very hurt
Yeah, worked once. Worked more than 1 year, too.
Absolutely. That's news.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Mike Lombardi, former NFL general manager, player personnel guy, special assistant Belichick. He's got a new Nick Wright and he do Make Me Smarter football podcast now on iTunes. I think that bumped me from the top 5. Fairly bitter about it. Hey, first of all, what do you got to say with the Giants? Because I can't figure them out. You called them the Ponzi scheme of the league. I watched them yesterday. At times they looked awful against a bad team, and they're 7-3.
You know, they're good defensively. When I say Ponzi scheme offensively, the numbers just don't support. They turn the ball over, they make mistakes. But yesterday they beat a Bears team that went up and down the field in the first half. They lose Zach Miller with the foot injury, and then the Bears can't get anything going. It was a good win for the Giants, but I think when they play against a team, now I know they beat Dallas opening day, but I think that offense is predictable, and I think when they play against some of the better defenses, they're going to struggle to win. I don't see them being a team. They'll beat Cleveland this week, which will make them...
Now, as it gets colder, does that hurt them?
I think it kills them because I think they got to be able to control... Look, their offensive line is a weakness.
For 4 years!
And it's not going away, and it shows up in cold weather, and I think it's going to show up in colder weather. And I think that Eli had a chance to throw... Eli made a couple good throws. They converted a couple 4 downs, but that's the Chicago Bears, and they lost Leonard Floyd. He was rushing pretty well. That was causing some problems. I mean, that first half and second half were 2 different halves.
That's right.
And
Bears had a couple key injuries, game changes.
Exactly, and they had no depth. And I think when you look at the Giants, they played much better in the second half. So you got to give them credit for that. But I just don't see this offense being able to endure and stay. It's very, very. I talked to a coach in the league that lost to him, and I asked him. I said, how did you handle the Giants? He said they're the simplest offense in football. I don't understand how we lost to them. So,
Mike Lombardi joining us now. Washington similarly is 6-3-1, but when I watch Washington, I see something there. I really like their offense. I think they're
good.
Jordan Reed's a stud. They have a deep threat. What did you make of Kirk Cousins and the general manager? There was a moment after the game where Kirk Cousins screamed at him, like you've been in that GM chair. What did you make of that?
I think he's to say, pay me. I mean, the man needs to get paid. I mean, the guy's a really good player. What struck me yesterday, Colin, was Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan loved Kirk Cousins. They would have been...
Oh, they did?
Loved him. That's the reason he's there. It's not because somebody in their front office was, let's take Kirk Cousins. No, Mike Shanahan didn't want to give up the draft pick. This is not disputable. This is fact. He did not want to give up the draft picks for RG3. That was the owner that wanted to do that. They did it anyway, just like the Donovan McNabb trade. And then they draft Kirk Cousins. So move the story forward. When I'm the general manager in Cleveland, we hire Kyle to be the offensive coordinator, and I was fired 2 weeks later. But one of the things Kyle wanted to do was to trade for Kirk Cousins. They felt Kirk Cousins, the Shanahan family felt Kirk Cousins was the real deal. And what they saw last night was what the Shanahans thought. And it's kind of almost sad that nobody gives them any credit for it because Mike was few guys can coach the quarterback, even fewer can evaluate him. And I think the Shanahans had that one right. Kurt looked really good. Granted, Green Bay had no secondary last night, but still, they played very well, and they can run block. They'll give Dallas all they can handle this Thursday night.
By the way, here's the Kirk Cousins general manager moment. Just for fun, let's play this one more time.
How do you like me now? How do you like me now?
You know what? And here's the other thing. Most of these NFL quarterbacks succeed, all have a chip on their shoulder.
They should, yeah.
Aaron and Brady.
Well, look, he saw Brock Osweiler get $18 million. You don't think he thinks he's better than Brock Osweiler? I mean, one thing you know about the National Football League, when they're in the locker room, there's no sports pages in the locker room. There's all Wall Street journals. They're all business guys downstairs. Understand that. There's nobody down there thinking about, their fantasy team. They're thinking about the finances. And I don't care on what team. And they know what everybody else is making in the league. And that's just a reflection of, hey, you don't think I'm better than Brock Osweiler? Go ahead, make me a free agent. Go make me a free agent. Do me a favor, make me a free agent. See how that works out for you.
So my audience is sort of making fun of me because I led the show today and I said there was a study at the University of Washington with 99% certainty. A professor could guess if you were going to stay married or get divorced. And it wasn't on the big stuff. He would watch if you slightly interrupted your wife or husband, eye rolls, any little bit of condescending. That his feeling was little becomes big over time living together, and that if there was a ever even small signs of lack of respect, it would undo the marriage. Right. 99% certainty. So Dak, during the game yesterday, throws a water cup over his shoulder. It misses, and it doesn't matter, right? There's a crew at a stadium to pick it up. He goes back, picks it up, puts it in the garbage can. And I said, it shows me he's conscientious. Little things matter. And my audience is like, you're nuts. But that little moment, that kind of stuff does.
It does matter.
It does to me.
Because you are the person when no one's watching. I mean, if everybody was watching, you'd say he's doing it for show. But if nobody, he doesn't think anybody's got the camera on him. At that point, the defense is on the field. But to do that shows he's been raised really well. He's got respect for things, and it translates on the field. I mean, it does. The little things matter. And I think what you saw with Dax is his ability to lead is because he's conscientious and he's detailed. What I see with the Cowboys is a conscientious, detailed team. This is not what you and I are used to for the Dallas Cowboys.
That's why it's so hard for me. I can't. They're not what they've been for 20 years.
No, they're not up and down. They're just and it starts with the quarterback. You get your leadership of your football team through the quarterback. That's how it has to happen. If you want to be now, the Baltimore Ravens won without it. That's where I think Joe Flacco is struggling right now. That when Ray Lewis talked about it, look, nobody was going to take Ray Lewis's team away from him. Let's be honest. That was his team. But what Ray's asking is Joe to be more demonstrative and be more into it. I think what he's trying to do yesterday is show Ray, I'm here. I'm trying to be with that press conference because he was trying to exert that he wanted to believe they could win the game. So leadership has to come from the quarterback. That's just a small thing, but it's a big thing.
So listen, I know everybody wants a quarterback that never makes a mistake, but listen to this. Tom Brady won 2 Super Bowls throwing picks. 1-2. He had 2 picks and 1. Terry Bradshaw won 2 of his 4 Super Bowls, 1 with 3 interceptions. Aikman won a Super Bowl with an interception. Peyton won 2 with an interception in both. Eli threw an interception. Roethlisberger threw 2 picks and won a Super Bowl, and 1 pick and won another Super Bowl. 54 times this year, a team has won a game throwing at least 1 pick. Andrew Luck leads by 7 with an atrocious defense. Marcus Mariota's hot. There's 8 minutes to go, and he throws the ball down the field, and it's picked. And Twitter explodes.
Right.
And I'm like, people, listen, Andrew Luck knows he doesn't want to be on the bench and watching his defense give it up. He wants to control it.
Right.
So this interception wasn't a great throw, but he threw a similar ball in the red zone that was caught. Am I off on this? I don't think interceptions it ended up being a bad punt. I don't get why fans and media are just apoplectic over picks.
It's like a center fielder in baseball doesn't make any errors. He does not get any balls. I mean, if you're Jared Goff and you're not trying to throw the ball into tight windows, let's take Tom Brady's throw to Malcolm Mitchell, the 54-yard touchdown.
Can we please?
Yeah, I mean, like that shouldn't have been thrown. There's no way he's open. If it hits off his helmet, it ricochets off, and it could be intercepted. But great quarterback. It's an instinctive position. When your mom takes you from the crib, you either have it or you don't. It's a crib thing, right? So you see things on the field that no one else else can see. And you see windows you can put the ball through. Luck can put it through windows. The interceptions, look, there's stupid interceptions and there's good interceptions. And sometimes you got to make plays down the field. Brett Favre did it all the time and made a career out of it. That's what he did. As an executive, I don't sit there and say, well, you can't play cautiously. You got to try to win the game.
Especially when you got that defense.
Right. Well, to me, Jay Gruden did the right thing going for it on fourth down. He wasn't going to put his defense back on the field. He kept trying to score. He didn't conserve his offense and say, he was trying to score, because we know now in the NFL, the only way to win is to keep scoring. Really, you can't protect the lead, and you're going to have to make some throws. Don't be stupid with the ball, but don't be sitting there saying, I can't throw any throw. I think that's a mistake, and I think we become too critical of, we have this box for turnovers, and there should be separate. It's just like the third downs. There should be separate third downs. There's third downs in the red zone, and there's third downs in the field. There's interceptions that are good ones and bad ones. Some are bad that cost you the game. You can't do those, but some you got to try to make a play, and I'm all for making plays. I think Brady made it yesterday. I think you could easily said that was a bad.
If we can find the tape on that Brady touchdown, it was a remarkable throw.
Remarkable. I don't know why he threw it. I don't know why he threw the ball.
If the corner turns, it's picked. There wasn't even a window. When he let go of that football, there was no window.
Right. There was no window.
He just made up. So that's a great example. Because it was a touchdown, nobody will question Tom Brady. That throw, was it Miller?
Malcolm Mitchell, the fourth-round pick. Yeah.
The kid they like.
54-yard touchdown.
You would never throw that football.
No, and it was great concentration on his part, but he made a play, and that's what great players do. They make plays. And I think Andrew Luck sometimes takes it to an extreme.
Yeah.
But I think, and he knows that if he punt's not a good thing for Andrew Luck. It's really not. We're better off winning with our offense. That's the funny thing about the NFL. We're such a one-dimensional side team. There's so many teams that are just one-dimensional. Really. When you look at it, the Giants are winning with their defense, right? Okay. The Redskins are winning with their offense. The Cowboys are winning with their offense. They control the ball. The Patriots are winning with their offense. Seattle's now winning with their defense. Their offense is coming. There's really no complete team. And so if you're the
Raiders
offense,
are all offense.
They're all offense. So you have to win the game with your offense. Why does Alex Smith kind of never get that love? He never takes chances.
He never
takes a chance. Like, there's no window. And again, it comes down to accuracy. Blake Bortles takes chances, but he throws the ball on the wrong side. He has one interception for a touchdown on a slant. That's a bad interception. If he throws the ball where it needs to be, remember this, what we said earlier. Brett Favre said this: quarterbacks that can throw the ball through the door, they can hit the keyhole, they can hit the doorknob, or they can throw it through the keyhole. The ones that throw it through the keyhole, that's the ones that are great. Brady, Dak throws it through the keyhole. I think when you saw some of the other throws, Luck can throw it through a keyhole. To me, Blake Bortles can barely get it through the door. That's what separates, and their interceptions are so bad.
What do you make of Jared Goff?
I can't decide whether the Rams' offense to me is so bad, it's hard to evaluate Goff. I heard what Jeff Fisher said. I didn't think he looked comfortable. I didn't feel like he looked like he was in control of the game. But look, their offense is bad. They just run a bunch of plays. They don't have any rhythm or rhyme to what they're trying to do. They never attack it. They have what we call beaters. They're a beater offense. Okay, we think you're going to play cover 2. We got all our cover 2 beaters. We think you're going to play cover 1. That's not how you run an offense. There's got to be some imagination to it. There's no imagination in that offense whatsoever. I think their defense is good enough, but you can't win in the NFL with just one unit defensively. If you're going to lose, you lose 17-14.
All right, so we know you support Aaron Rodgers, and you said Ted Thompson, the GM, they don't do free agency. They've eliminated legs on the bar stool. You have to draft well,
right,
and they never get good draft picks. If Belichick took over Green Bay today and had to sort of recreate this team and roster, what would he do?
Well, first of all, I said the first thing he would do is redesign the offense. It's got to be a little bit more creative. It can't just be about players. It's got to be about plays as well. But I think yesterday to me was the biggest indictment of the Packers. When James Starks was on the field, they looked like they had a running game, right? I mean, he ran the ball. They were going the whole season without a running back. Like, you lost Lacy. They put Starks out there. Oh, it looks better. Well, maybe we should have had another running back instead of the kid from Reno who hurt his wrist, Jackson. All right. Oh, and then there's Jared Cook. There's a tight end that can make plays in the passing game. Maybe we should have had another tight end. It's not Richard Rodgers. See, to me, all those 2 players yesterday made their offense better. It's just an indictment of where they've been. They're not talented enough. And I think the first thing you would do is improve the talent. Get a running back that could come in there and they can live with. They need a blocking tight end and they need a receiving tight end, and then they need to improve their offensive skill. It's really not. They're not that far away, Colin. They're really not, because you have the quarterback. He's the great deodorant for all the problems. The thing they have to do, change the scheme a little bit, reinvent themselves. Look, Churchill once said to improve is to change, to be perfect is to change offense. Often, they haven't changed enough. That's their problem. They're stuck back. They're like the band that has one hit and they just keep playing it over and over again. You got to put another album out. They got to change a little bit what they do. I'm not saying radically, like just hypothetically, if you're Mike McCarthy and you want to change what you're doing, maybe hire a Mike Shanahan to come in to be your Tom Moore. Like, give me some ideas on how we can shift this offense around a little bit. I don't want to get rid of Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy's a good soldier. I think he's done a good job, but I think he needs some diversity within it. It's a difference between being creative and being divergent, and I think sometimes they need to be divergent in what they're doing.
Mike Lombardi got a new podcast, Make Me Smarter Football Podcast, that includes Nick Wright, now on iTunes. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
It's The Herd. Start having a great day by getting a better night's sleep with a Casper. Go to Casper.com. Use the code HERD. $50 toward the purchase of your mattress. Terms and conditions apply. So not a shock. Sunday Night Football, Packers-Washington had a very good rating. And Eagles-Seahawks on CBS had a very good rating. So this goes back to everybody. It's seriously, I'm trying not to be too glib here. But during the NFL rating erosion for the first 8 weeks of the season, I had to read all these people. Oh, it's Kaepernick. Kaepernick had no effect on the ratings. None. The ratings are back up since the Trump-Clinton presidential race ended. And all the ratings for the political shows have now gone down 40% in the last 2 weeks. And the NFL ratings are up. And these Thanksgiving Day ratings are going to be fantastic. So last weekend, the ratings popped. This weekend, they were sensational. Next week, this Thanksgiving, they're going to be unbelievable. People make the mistake. They when things fail, people start to, like when newspapers died. Well, they're too liberal. Newspapers have been liberal for 1,000 years. Newspapers died because of technology. You didn't have to sit around and wait 24 hours for the news. You could turn on cable. You could turn on your radio. You could turn on an app. The liberal conservative didn't kill newspapers. Technology killed newspapers. The internet killed newspapers. Craigslist.org. You didn't need to go put a classified ad in a newspaper. You could go to Craigslist. That was 30% of the revenue for newspapers died. Had nothing to do with liberal. But people tend to use their politics it's called confirmation bias. People take their political beliefs and use them to answer everything. This is why this is happening. Colin Kaepernick is the reason the NFL ratings are down. Zero effect, maybe 1%. The ratings were down because Donald Trump and Hillary waged the most polarizing presidential election of my lifetime. I'm not even sure there's a second place. The minute they left, the ratings last week went right back up 5 days later. This weekend, they were terrific, and Thanksgiving, they're going to be huge because I think Thanksgiving, we get the Cowboys and Cowboys-Washington. That's going to get boffo numbers.
The early game is Lions-Vikings.
Which will be okay. And then I think you get Colts-Steelers.
That's the night game, yep.
So you get Big Ben. So I can't remember a Thanksgiving where I was more jacked up to watch football. Then Friday, you get tremendous college football games. Let me just tell you the way it works, folks. Liberals and conservatives both take their political beliefs and try to assign them for reasons things are happening in society. Newspapers didn't die because they were too liberal, and the NFL ratings weren't down because of Colin Kaepernick. I don't care what side you're on. It's just they were down because of elections hurt the NFL ratings. If you did basic homework, there it is. There it is. Like boxing. Boxing is not as big as it used to be in America. Why? 2 reasons. It's been poorly run, which it was forever. 2, UFC has taken all the spotlight from it. Nobody in the media talks boxing. Everybody in the media talks UFC. And number 3, very simply, is if you have options, you'd rather not get hit in the head. And boxing used to be 30 years ago, and one of those ways that a lot of kids had an opportunity to make money, and there's a lot more ways to make money faster now. Just that simple. The answer is generally right in front of you with all this stuff. I got to tell you, I am, I sat there Saturday and watched college football. Alabama is so much better than everybody else. I mean, Alabama is so much better than everybody else. Alabama doesn't even play well and wins going away. But I got to tell you, when I watch everybody else, I mean, everybody else is Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, USC. I think they're all just the same team. I think they're all just sort of the same team. I think there are parts of Michigan's defensive front I love. But college football is getting very regional. If Alabama wins again, I don't think that's necessarily great for the sport. Like women's basketball, UConn wins every year. I think it's a problem for the sport. I really do. And Alabama's not only winning, but their style isn't fun. They're not the Miami Hurricanes. They're not USC. They're not even the Vince Young Longhorns. They're not Urban Meyer's Tim Tebow Gators. Alabama is unbelievably forceful, well-coached, efficient, and physical. They're not a fun watch. Like, not all dynasties are the same. Alabama's dynasty is last year they played Clemson in one of the best college football games I'd seen in years. It got an average rating. Got destroyed by this year's World Series, got tripled by the Super Bowl, got beat by the NBA Finals, got beat by the men's college basketball Final Four. So I don't know if it's great for college football if Alabama dominates to this level. My instincts are it's not great. Ian Rapoport broke the story on Tony Romo and the Broncos. He joins us next. So does Drew Bledsoe last hour on a Monday. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. We're going to go to New York in a couple of minutes, and then we're going to go to Seattle in 30 minutes for Drew Bledsoe. I was thinking about this Thanksgiving. Really, really good games. Cowboys in Washington, Steelers at the Colts is on the NFL Network. Tremendous college football games on Friday. Tremendous. And, I was thinking about this year in football. It's the halfway point. The way I look at the fall, and I tell my family this, is like there's two seasons. I start in September. I can take days off, but I can't take them in the football season for about 6 months. Christine Leahy joining me. So I think of it as my football season is two seasons. The first season is until today. And we got Thanksgiving week, so I get some breaks. I don't work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, I just do a NFL show for about an hour. And then there's the second season. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving and until the Super Bowl. And that is December, January, a couple of weeks. The second part of the season's a week or two shorter, but it's more intense. Those Mondays and Friday shows are really intense. So far, my coaches of the year in college football, I don't know how you could vote for anybody but Clay Helton at USC. He takes over a program that's in utter disarray. I mean, let's face it, last 5 years, USC, chaos. 5 coaches in 6 years. He takes it over, been an interim before. They are unbelievably poor in the first month. They have now won 7 straight games. In all 7 games, they have limited the team they've beaten, I believe, to season lows in points or yards. The defense is playing great. They put in the right quarterback, finally, Sam Darnold. They're going to beat Notre Dame on this weekend. I don't know how you don't give the coach a year, Clay Helton. And stop with this, they haven't beaten anybody. Colorado's a good team, they beat them. Washington's a good team, they physically handled them. They have a chance to play a bowl game and maybe get into the Pac-12 championship, and I believe they'll be favored in both those games. I know they'll be favored in the Pac-12 championship. What they have done this year over the last 8 weeks is what's great about sports. You can improve. You can turn a disaster into an incredibly good season. USC has a chance now. If Utah beats Colorado this weekend, USC's in the Pac-12 championship. Gives them another game. USC beats Notre Dame. They could get into the Pac-12 championship in a bowl. They could win 10 straight games to end the year. My NFL coach of the year has to be Jack Del Rio. It's not just that the Raiders are winning and they play Monday Night Football tonight in Mexico City against Houston. I think they'll win. It's that Jack has changed the culture. He has been able to, from the first game of the year, Jack Del Rio went for 2 in New Orleans to win the game on the road, an incredibly gutty call. This is a young team. He's a defensive-minded guy. So Jack's defense is going to get, this is the worst they'll be defensively. Because Jack's a defensive coach. They'll get better and better and better on the defensive side, which is really exciting when you consider how good they are on the offensive side. So I think Clay Helton at USC and Jack Del Rio, to me, are the coaches of the year. That is not to say that Jason Garrett hasn't done a great job, but I give that front office so much credit for the offensive line and drafting Ezekiel Elliott and finding Dak Prescott. Sometimes as coaches, things fall into your hand. Not a lot has fallen into Jack Del Rio's hand. Not a lot's fallen into Clay Helton's hand. Clay Helton had to take over a program that for 5 years has been too much ego, not enough wins, and utter chaos. So Clay Helton, Jack Del Rio, my coaches of the year so far. Ian Rapoport, NFL Network from the Cowherd Global Satellite Network at Rap Sheet. This Thursday, Steelers Colts NFL Network. Cannot wait to watch that game. So you broke the story yesterday on Tony Romo. We started talking about this about 2 months ago or a month ago. We said, listen, Ian, he's a guy with options. Okay, this is a guy that's going to have some options. I would guess he would look at teams that have like a Bruce Arians or a Bill O'Brien, and you threw out Denver. Let's take us to your story that you broke and what you're hearing about Romo and Denver potentially.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things we need to know. First of all, Tony Romo is in complete control of this process. Cowboys are not going to cut him because why would you? They can actually get something pretty decent for him. He's going to have a fairly robust trade market considering mid-30s. He's been banged up, but he is a very, very good quarterback. The Cowboys are not going to ship him to, say, Cleveland or someplace he doesn't want to go, and he would need to do a new deal, get himself some guaranteed money. So he is in control. He would basically get to choose where he wants to go. From my understanding, he is already taking a look, already eyeing the Denver Broncos as a potential spot if they decide that Trevor Siemian is not their guy going forward, and if they decide Paxton Lynch needs another year. But of course, this makes complete sense for Romo for 2 reasons. One, they just did it with Peyton Manning, literally the exact same thing. And that defense is nasty. I mean, he could go in there and they would immediately be a Super Bowl contender. It would make a lot of sense for him.
You know, it's interesting, though. By doing that, would Elway say, because everybody in L.A. was getting on the Rams for not playing Goff, would it in any way signal that Paxton Lynch isn't as good as they think?
Possible, but I don't get the sense John Elway really cares. You know, there's a lot of decisions that get made from head coaches to GMs to whoever that are either about self-preservation, job security-wise, or so people wouldn't think they made a mistake. John Elway has a Super Bowl, has another Super Bowl, and then another Super Bowl as a player and a GM. He's drafted, fantastic. The free agency sign, make the Pro Bowl. I don't get the sense John Elway cares about anything besides winning, and he doesn't have to prove it to anything. So he could go, yeah, Lynch isn't ready, whatever. We're just going to sign, you know, a franchise quarterback right here who's going to be our guy for a year. And if they're good, no one's going to complain about how they actually became good. That's why Elway is sort of in a better position than a lot of people, because he doesn't have to prove anything.
How does the Packers situation work out? I mean, it's now ugly. Dom Capers may be the fall guy. I mean, I just can't see him firing McCarthy. I mean, he's earned the right to have an off year. How do you think it plays out?
First of all, I agree. I really do not see any way they fire Mike McCarthy, nor do I think it would benefit anyone. It wouldn't benefit Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, it wouldn't benefit McCarthy or his staff. And for the Packers, you know, it's one of those be careful what you wish for, because if you fire him, he's going to get hired in about 2 seconds. Someone will upgrade a head coach, and then you're out looking again, trying to find who the next hot coordinator is when you already have a guy who was a hot coordinator at one point. I don't see that. Capers is a possibility. That defense has really struggled, but I hate to say it, it is possible. It's just bad luck and bad fortune. I mean, they're not perfect, but they've lost all their good defensive backs, all their running backs, all their receivers have been injured. Their best pass rusher, Clay Matthews, is a shell of himself because he's been injured. They basically have no players, and I don't really know what else to say except for sometimes it just happens like this where all you guys get injured, and I really don't know whose fault it is, which doesn't make fans feel better, but I think it's the truth.
So Jeff Fisher, I had Peter King on earlier, and I said, listen, if we know Jeff Fisher knows one side of the ball and struggles with the other, that's just become one of those, it's been established. Rush Limbaugh's conservative. It's been established, okay? It's been established. Jeff Fisher's really good on one side of the ball, not so great in the other. But if Stan Kroenke, they're going to be playing in the Coliseum for 2 more years and the rest of this year, and it's kind of ugly, and it's a college stadium, and so the optics aren't good. Could you make an argument that Fisher's simply in trouble because Stan Kroenke's going to say the Lakers are getting good, USC's good, the Dodgers and Clippers are good, they're playoff teams, and the optics right now in the Rams they're dull, they're boring, it's Los Angeles, and there's a million things to do in the fall?
I don't, excuse me, I don't get the sense he would make that decision, and I would agree that there's not as much probably buzz as I would have thought, which is okay. They're not in their own stadium. They're basically an average team right now. They have a quarterback that they love, but we clearly have not seen the best of yet with Jared Goff. I just don't get the sense they make decisions like that because their crown jewel, their big prize, their big thing at the end of the rainbow is that stadium. And I think when that comes in, then you're going to probably get some decisions to where, you ramp up. Maybe you make a call on a head coach. Maybe you make sure that the public is fully invested. I just don't get the sense that would be right now. If they were going to fire Jeff Fisher, I think they would have done it already. I mean, it's possible, but to me, it seems like patience is going to be much more the winner here rather than knee-jerk or rather than replacing Fisher.
By the way, LaShawn McCoy got banged up yesterday. Is he okay? What's the story on him? For fantasy football guy listening, is he going to play?
He's okay. He's going to play. He dislocated his thumb. If you watch the video, it's ridiculous. He tries to pull it back. So he basically tries to pop his thumb back in place. Couldn't do it, so his day was over. Had surgery this morning, but is actually going to play on Sunday. It's his left hand, so he's going to be able to carry with his right. He's okay, and we'll be back to help fantasy teams this Sunday, unlike A.J. Green, who unfortunately was on my fantasy team, and I can see which way that's going.
Yeah. At Rap Sheet, Steelers, Colts, NFL Network this Thursday. Thanks, Ian.
All right, thank you.
You bet. So there you go. I listen to that. I helped out Fantasy Guy. I don't play fantasy football much, but that I helped a fantasy guy right there. I'm giving to the community. Do you play fantasy football?
Yeah, of course I do.
How many teams, you on?
Right. This year, only one, but I'm doing pretty well.
Did you like the Laker game last night?
Of course I did. They were playing the Bulls. It was a great game.
D-Wade didn't play, though.
No, I was kind of upset. And you know what? We were talking about that last week, that it's the bad part about a player taking rest, because LeBron said he's going to rest throughout the season, is for those people who buy tickets to go to the game thinking they're going to see their favorite player, and then he rests.
Right.
Like, it was disappointing.
Let me back this, though. I said this about LeBron. The fans are to blame. The fans with LeBron James, as he was shattering records, made the conscious decision, it doesn't matter, LeBron, we're going to judge you solely by the playoffs. LeBron's going to surpass Michael Jordan in every regular season number. Going to blow past him on everything.
I wouldn't say it's the fans' fault. I would say the NBA should maybe not have so many games. That's a good way to fix it.
But they do, and that's not going to change.
Right, because of the money.
So fans are like, hey, LeBron, we don't care that you're literally breaking every record and are going to blow past MJ's record. It's all about the finals. So fans and media unfairly only judge LeBron on the finals. So the fans have deemed the regular season irrelevant. So you wonder why LeBron back-to-backs takes it off.
No, it totally makes sense. I just feel bad for the fans. And last night I felt that as a fan, I would have loved to see D-Wade play, but he was on the bench.
If you were an NBA player, and I think about this all the time, like people say, well, I mean, firemen work every day. No, they don't. Firemen work 4 days a week. Pilots work 4 days a week.
If that.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that nobody else takes a day off. By the way, firemen in California, pensions, lifeguards can make six-figure pensions. It's not like the rest of the, I mean, people, it's nothing against the average guy, but this idea that LeBron can't take a day off, we all take days off.
Absolutely. It totally makes sense.
No, I don't have a problem with it.
I feel bad for the fans.
Problem with an NBA player taking a day off. Firemen take a day off. Cops take a day off. School teachers take a day off. I don't know, problem. I take days off. Why can't LeBron take a day off? Especially when you fans have said regular season doesn't matter. Got to get to the finals or it doesn't matter. And LeBron, for the record, is going to shatter all Michael's records. He's going to blow through all of them. I mean, he's going to blow through all of Michael's records. He's going to end up in far more finals than Michael ever played in. And I think he's going to end up winning at least one more. So he's going to end up winning 4 final. And you're going to say, well, regular season. So when fans and media get what they deserve.
Our guy Jimmy Butler had a good night last night, too. Did you see?
Yeah, and Jimmy Butler's an A player. He's a star. Jimmy Butler is a fan of the show and a tremendous player.
He was having a good time with Swaggy P, though. The two of them all game going back and forth, joking around with each other, laughing.
Not a fan.
I know.
Drew Bledsoe around the corner. No matter how you get ready for kickoff, choose Visa and the Bank America Cash Rewards Visa credit card. Let you earn cash back and all your game day essentials. Visa, everywhere you want to be. Let's not waste any time. I'm going to do it on Monday because we're not on television the rest of the week. You can hear us on our other outlets. But today is our TV day on FS1. So here is today's Herd Hierarchy, my top 10 teams in the league.
Herd Hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
I don't care if they lost. Baltimore's really good. They've only allowed 9 drives this year of 10 or more plays. That's the fewest in the NFL. It just so happens 3 of those came against the Cowboys. But when I watched Baltimore yesterday, I'm like, that team, you don't want to play that team in the playoffs. New England doesn't want to play them. Pittsburgh doesn't want to play them. Baltimore's a tremendous team. That game told me more about Dallas's strength than any weakness for the Ravens. Sometimes a better team wins. It was Dallas. Baltimore's good.
Number 9.
Philadelphia is a 500 team, but I like Philadelphia. Again, point differential, red zone defense. They have a pass rush. They are second in the NFL at time of possession. Philadelphia's played a brutal schedule. I mean, who in the hell's winning that game in Seattle yesterday? They hung around for a while. They got outclassed. I don't like them at wide receiver at all. A lot of drop passes, but I think Philadelphia is a top 10 team in this league.
Number 8.
Same with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is going to have a little bit of renaissance here in the second half of the season because their schedule gets much easier. First of all, they are the best red zone offense in the league. They get in the red zone 42.5% of the time, or 42.5%, they score. They've got stars. Le'Veon Bell's a star. Antonio Brown's a star. Big Ben is a star. They have a veteran head coach. Pittsburgh's going to have a really nice second half. I probably have them a little low, but I watched a little bit yesterday, and again, they're complaining about referees. They're just not efficient enough for me to put them higher than 8.
Number 7.
Atlanta. Now, they're a one-side-of-the-ball team. I kind of consider them a little like Oakland. The difference is Oakland's still running the ball well, and Atlanta's running game has come down a little bit, but they are first in scoring, and you can't deny you put Atlanta on the field, and they can make defenses as uncomfortable as anybody in the league because of their perimeter speed and their ability to run the football.
Number 6.
Denver. And I say this because all these teams kind of feel the same. Denver's a one side of the football team, but I will say this about Denver. They lead the NFL in fourth quarter scoring. And that to me is one of those stats that matters. They almost average 2 touchdowns a game in the fourth quarter. What does that mean? Maybe it means their defense can keep, their defense gives them opportunities. Their defense gives them good field position. That's a real stat. My biggest concern about Denver is their division. They could honestly, there are days, I'm not sure they're as good as San Diego. I know they're not as good as San Diego offensively.
Number 5.
People think I have the Raiders too high, but they're like Atlanta with a better running game. And I think their defense will show a little more promise starting tonight. They do not give the ball away. 6 giveaways all year. So not only are they in the top 5 in every offensive category, they do not make mistakes. they're like Dallas on one side of the ball. They're not as good as Dallas defensively, but I have Oakland higher than most at 5.
Number 4.
Washington. At some point, they just keep winning games. And that game last night, Kirk Cousins playing great. Since week 3, they're 6-1-1. And they played some pretty good teams. And that game last night, at some point, if you look at them offensively, people wouldn't believe this. Washington's second in the NFL in total offense. Real number.
Number 3.
New England. Tied for second best scoring differential. They blow a lot of teams out. I still think their pass rush is incredibly inconsistent and at times weak. But I get Brady Belichick, no turnovers. Boy, did Tom make a couple of great throws yesterday. I just think this team has a little lower ceiling. I don't think defensively. I think a team like a Dallas, New England would never see the football. And that's why at number 2, I have the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would play keep away from New England. I don't think New England could get the Cowboys off the field. Listen, time of possession, number 1. Rushing, number 2. They're not giving the ball away. It'd be one thing if Dallas had a great offensive line, but they made mistakes. They don't. And I think the only team in the league that can beat Dallas head-to-head
number 1
is Seattle. Because I think Russell Wilson, there are moments when I think he's the best player in the NFL. He made a couple of plays against the Eagles yesterday. I just sat there and I thought, how do you defend him? They have Doug Baldwin now, and that's kind of been a weakness for them. Perimeter stars. He's a star. They can run the football effectively. They have a pass rush. They have the best secondary in the league. They have a veteran head coach. They play as well on the road as they do at home. I think Seattle's the only team in the league that goes toe-to-toe with Dallas and could get that Cowboy offense occasionally off the field because Baltimore couldn't. And if Baltimore can't in the second half, I think Seattle's the only other team that could. There's my herd hierarchy on a Monday. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
The NFL is reportedly considering making a change to their London game schedule because of the ratings drop this season.
Yeah.
They're thinking about getting rid of that 9:30 a.m. Eastern time game and moving it to 1.
Yes, please.
Which on the West Coast, that's 6:30 in the morning. So unless you're a real early riser in the weekend, you're not watching it.
It doesn't make any sense. So if I'm the NFL and I'm in business with ESPN's morning show and Fox's morning show and CBS's morning show,
you're getting rid of it.
That early game hurts all my broadcasting partners.
Right.
It knocks like 25% off the ratings.
The reason that they do it is because they can put it, that 9:30 time slot Eastern time is prime time in London. So they want to be able to show the game live prime time for where they are. But which is more important? Your American audience?
I think when you're in business, you should be good to your partners.
Yes.
And I also think I'm on the West Coast. A lot of my friends, Saturday night's party night in America. You watch college football, you go out with your wife or your buddies. Who's up at 6:30 on the West Coast?
Sleep in.
West Coast has party cities. Phoenix, Vegas, L.A., San Diego, San Francisco. Not getting up at 6:30 on a Sunday.
Well, the benefit for you is you got that Sunday off. I think you enjoyed the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is talking more. You mentioned a little bit about this, but now that the Packers are 4-6, 2 games behind in the NFC North, Mike McCarthy is talking about what this now means to them.
Disappointed. Reality 4-6. We understand clearly what's in front of us. So 6 losses is put your ass against the wall, and that's where we are. We're going to rally, stick together. We got a good taste of the reaction to our football team at 5 losses. So clearly understand it ain't going to get any better being at 6 losses.
What do? Do you start thinking ahead to next season? Do you fire Mike McCarthy?
No, I just think listen, man, it's hard to win in this league. It is hard. You got to have the right quarterback. You have to have the right coach. You have the right, what Seattle and Dallas and New England are doing. It's just, yesterday Andy Reid's a great coach. He goes out at home and gets smoked by Tampa. I think sometimes we forget how hard it is to win in this league and how hard it is to quarterback in this league. Like, I thought Aaron Rodgers played well last night. I thought he played really well. Their defense was terrible. Atrocious on the back end. So we never lose sight of how hard it is to win in the NFL and how hard it is to play quarterback in the NFL.
And finally, Under Armour has reported that they've lost nearly $600 million of its value as a company, and here's why. Remember we talked about the Steph Curry shoe that kind of looked like a nursing shoe and that we didn't like that? Well, that shoe actually did well, but the Steph Curry 3 is not doing well, and that is why Under Armour lost so much of its value as a company. Now, his shoes only really make up probably 5% of Under Armour's value as a company. But the reason that they're saying why is because Steph plays with higher profile shoes on his ankle to kind of protect his ankle while he's playing. And most people who buy shoes like this want the lower profile ones that are low on your ankle.
And cooler.
So they're not buying them. They're going to make a lower version of them. I actually think these are pretty cool, but I don't know. Do you think kids buy shoes based on exactly what the player is wearing on the court?
No, because I don't buy them, so I have no idea. I mean, I literally don't know what a kid would buy.
For shoes?
I didn't think they were going to buy that first one, and they loved it.
But they did.
I have no sense of what a kid would buy for shoes.
So you were never into shoes as a
Nope.
kid? I wonder why.
No. Just never into cars, never into shoes. There's things I was into, that just wasn't it. So I have no sense of what the shoe market is whatsoever.
But it's interesting how much a player has to think about what type of shoe they're wearing on the court, not just for comfort and for protection, but because it will help their shoe deals where they make a lot of money.
Ridiculous.
So he actually switches his shoes now sometimes. Before the game, he'll wear the lower profile shoe, and then during the game, switch to the higher profile one because he knows he needs to be photographed in it.
Goofy.
That's news.
Christina, news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
A four-time Pro Bowler, Patriot Bill and Cowboy, and a Super Bowl champ, my buddy Drew Bledsoe, joining us. I think it's via Seattle at the Cowherd Global Satellite Network.
I'm sitting here in my library, Colin. I was doing some reading, and I figured I'd jump on camera with you.
Are you in your library?
No, man, I'm at a studio. It looks pretty good, though, right?
It looks like a library.
Looks like Mark Twain.
Yeah. I did get him to put a prop up behind me, though. At least we got some wine in the back.
First of all, you have been in this situation, the Brady thing, the being replaced thing, and you. It's tough. When you guys, it'd be one thing if you didn't have a stellar career. You were a great high school player. You were a great college player. You're a great NFL player. Who's this young guy? Psychologically, what's Tony going through?
Yeah, it's the absolute definition of bittersweet. Because as a teammate, you're really happy for your team. I mean, and that's genuine. I mean, I was genuinely happy for my teammates in New England when we were winning and went on to win the Super Bowl that year. But at the same time, man, it breaks your heart. You put all this blood, sweat, and tears into a career, and you've kind of been the guy for a long time, and it breaks your heart to know that your team is going out and having success without you, and you're just, it's kind of a helpless feeling being on the sidelines. You want to contribute, but you're used to being the guy in the middle of the action, and now you're not.
Drew, when you went to practice, when you were in the locker room, did you feel like a part of the team then?
I did. It's different, but you're still a leader. I mean, I was still a captain on that team, and I was still a leader of the team. And what Tony is doing, and I know people are arguing the merits of whether he should have just answered questions rather than make a statement. But the statement that he made was the right one. As a leader, you're supporting your team because you can be really divisive. You see it everywhere. It takes an entire team to have a positive culture, but it only takes one guy to tear the culture of the entire team down. And if Tony decided to be divisive, he could tear that whole thing down and make it a problem, but he hasn't done that. But no, you go to it, and one thing that I did send Tony a text earlier to say, make sure you're enjoying this thing, man, because when you get to be my age, you miss it. Even, just showing up and running scout team and being around the guys, you'll miss it. And in spite of the fact that it's a difficult situation, you got to try and enjoy it.
Do you think it'll be tougher in the second half than the first half, maybe for Romo, because now the games mean more?
Well, I think it's tougher because he's healthy. I mean, when I was hurt and I was standing on the sidelines, you're hurt. You can't. There's no chance to play. But once you're healthy and you start to feel good, and now you're in the second half of the season, you haven't been hit all year, so you start to feel really good, and that's when it's hard. It's like, okay, now physically I'm ready to play, mentally I'm ready to play. Here comes game day, and there goes the other guy. That's when it gets really hard.
I was saying this about Brady. This is just the way it works. I always tell the story that I was 41 years old, 42. And one day I went to a steakhouse and I looked at the menu and it looked like lines of ants running across a menu. And I'm like, oh my God, it happened overnight that I couldn't read anything on a menu. I thought I could the day before and I couldn't. And similarly with quarterbacks, like Brett Favre kind of fell off a table at about 40. Tommy hasn't been hurt a lot, but they're in a weird situation in New England. And I want you to go back to your last year or two physically. Did you sense signs when you woke up post-game that you knew, like, it's leaving me fast physically? Because Tom looks good, but he's getting to be 40, Drew, and it's a different body.
Well, it's a little bit different with quarterback, and it's different specifically with Tom's situation. But physically, and I remember I hated Theismann when he said this one time. But physically, the throws, I can still go make the throws. I'm 44, almost 45. I can go play catch. I can still go make a lot of the throws that I would need to make. The thing that is hard to do is to maintain the attention to detail, maintain the mental and emotional side of the game and all the preparation you have to do as a quarterback.
Yeah.
If you're a linebacker or a running back, it's different, man. Physically you can't do it anymore. But as a quarterback, Tom's never been a guy. I sent him a text yesterday. I was down at the game. He ran for a couple of first downs, but man, it's never been a speed thing with him. He can't run out of sight in a day, but he can still make the throws. I think for him, it's going to be whether or not he can maintain that drive to keep going. And one thing that is unique with his situation is that I think that the league, they really made him mad, and they may have stretched it out for him a little bit longer with this stupid thing that they did over the last couple of years with the footballs. That may push him out there a few more years, because I think they made him mad enough that he wants to keep doing it. Physically, he takes great care of himself. He doesn't get hit very much. They protect him really well. So he's in a situation where if he wants to, I think he truly can be a little bit different than most and play for a long time.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe, who, by the way, has one of it's not a celebrity wine, Doubleback Winery. I have recommended it to multiple friends. I drink it myself, Doubleback Winery in Walla Walla, Washington, which is actually a beautiful part of the country, and you've built a nice little business for yourself. Before I go to a college game I want to talk about with you, when I looked at Russell Wilson yesterday, there are times, Drew, I don't even know how to describe him. He's 8% Vic, 12% Steve Young. He's become a better pocket passer. For you out of high school and college, I watched you play college. You were a pocket passer. When you watch Russell Wilson play, can you play that way for 8 more years? Because so much of his game is mobility. How do you think he ages as an NFL quarterback?
Well, I think it's certainly different than the conversation we just had with about Tommy. Yeah, Russell, it is a physical thing with him. His elusiveness, the way that he escapes and makes those 2 or 3 critical plays in a game, by buying more time and making a throw or running for a key first down. So, I don't know that his game will age as well as Tom's will. But we're talking a long time into the future, man. That's he can go this way for probably 6, 7, 8 more years before that starts to go away. And as you just indicated, he's continuing to shine as a pocket passer. He's throwing the ball well from the pocket and managing the game. But the one thing that I think that is a commonality between Russell Wilson and Tom Brady is when you play quarterback, it's a little bit about what you do on the field, but it's a whole lot about what you do off the field in terms of leading your team and being that guy that people rally around. And both of those guys have that infectious leadership about them. And the Seahawks are really, really fortunate to have Russell, not only because of his ability, but because of his character. And I think that he's going to continue to be a great leader for their organization.
So you and I grew up in the Northwest, and here we go, Washington and Washington State for the Pac-12 North title. Now, the rest of the country may not understand what this means to you and I. You quarterbacked at Washington State. This is, in our neck of the woods where we grew up, how big is this for you?
Well, it's the biggest sporting event in our state every year, and even when the teams were not contending, it still was a huge sporting event in the state. But now with both teams ranked, both teams playing great, both teams have amazing quarterbacks, and the winner of the game is the Pac-12 North champion. So, hopefully the rest of the nation will pay a little bit of attention. It'll be an exciting game. Luke Falk, the quarterback at Washington State, is the best quarterback that nobody's talking about. He's playing just great football. Jake Browning at Washington, Heisman Trophy candidate. You're going to see an exciting brand of football. I hope people will roll over that morning after or that afternoon after Thanksgiving and turn the game on, because I think it's going to be an exciting one.
What do you remember about your college career? Is there a moment you remember?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious one when we beat the Huskies in the snow over there in Pullman. It was my last home game. That one will always stand out as one of my all-time favorite sports memories that I was involved in. But the thing that always stands out for me is that, Pullman is such a tiny little college town. It was such a great place to play ball, and when you have success, the whole town shuts down and everybody shows up to the stadium. It's a neat place to go to school.
By the way, that's a beautiful painting of a ship over your left shoulder.
I worked on that this morning, and that's my other new career. I'm gonna do some painting like Bob Ross used to do and put people to sleep.
That's great. Drew Bledsoe, Doubleback Winery. I appreciate you. What are you doing in Seattle? You just hanging out? What are you doing?
No, Damon Heward, the old Husky great quarterback who played for a long time in the NFL. He and I have been great buddies for a long time, and he's making some great wine up here. He and Marino partnered on a winery called Passing Time. So we're having an Apple Cup wine showdown tonight. So we're going to pour some Doubleback and some Passing Time and share those around with some people over a good steak and probably talk some trash and drink some wine. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Good talking to you, bud.
Right on, Colin. Always good to talk to you.
Drew Bledsoe, Cowherd Global Satellite Network. Guys, if you're wondering whether your shirt's too long to wear untucked, probably is untuckit.com. If you put the code SPORTS in, you save 15% off on Tuckit.com. Store now in L.A. on Melrose Avenue. Good dude, great wine. It's the Herd. The majority of great quarterbacks in league history have been drafted in the first round. But here's what's funny. Is that right now in the NFL, if I said, if you think Seattle and Dallas make it to the NFC Championship, the quarterback for Seattle was drafted in the 3rd round and Dallas the 4th. Tom Brady for New England in the 6th round, and maybe Derek Carr of the Raiders in the 2nd. I mean, Kirk Cousins at Washington is a 4th round pick. You watched that game last night, and those were rough throwing conditions. Sometimes it's luck. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I did an event with him, big, strong kid, strapping, nice kid. Did anybody guess Dak? Nope. Every GM in the league whiffed on Dak 3 times, whiffed on Russell Wilson twice, whiffed on Tom Brady 6 times, whiffed on Kirk Cousins 3 times. So Mike Lombardi, very interesting, 2 hours ago came on the show. This was very interesting, 1 hour ago, my bad, and said, remember who drafted Kirk Cousins? It was Mike Shanahan, and people said, what are you doing? You just drafted RG3. Why in the world would you take the 4th round pick on a bad team and draft another quarterback? But Lombardi, the former GM personnel guy, is connected to Shanahan and said this.
I think he should say, pay me. I mean, the man needs to get paid. I mean, the guy's a really good player. What struck me yesterday, Colin, was Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan loved Kirk Cousins. One of the things Kyle wanted to do was to trade for Kirk Cousins. They felt Kirk Cousins, the Shanahan family felt Kirk Cousins was the real deal. And what they saw last night was what the Shanahans thought. And it's kind of almost sad that nobody gives them any credit for it, because Mike was few guys can coach the quarterback, even fewer can evaluate him. And I think the Shanahans had that one right. Kurt looked really good.
Watching him here. Throws it well running. Big. I think his arm's gotten better. I'm just watching the highlights on FS1. Steps up. That's a 25-yard strike. Jody Reed's a good tight end. When shopping for car insurance, consider Geico, saving people money on that insurance for 75 years. If you want to save it simple, geico.com. After 75 years, they know what they're doing. And the Herd also brought to you by TrueCar. Save time and money by downloading their app. Can save up to $3,000 off MSRP. Just see what other paid for the car you want. The TrueCar app. My wife used to work in HR, and she used to do these interviews. And it's really been funny through the years. We'll talk about what do you do at an interview and how does it work at an interview. And, sometimes you interview 10 people in a day. And she used to, my wife always had 2 opinions about hiring and firing. First of all, on firing, she says 90% of the people you fire know it's coming. She goes, I never had a lot of sympathy for people getting fired because they knew they were getting fired. They're late to work. They weren't very good. She goes, Almost never did I say you're fired and people are like, whoa. She goes, anybody with any level of self-awareness, and those are the kind of employees you want. I mean, if you're not smart enough to know you're getting fired, like she said, 90% of the people she let go of, she's like, we're going to let you go. And they were like, yeah, I kind of saw it coming. That's not to say I'd root for anybody to get fired, but in my wife's years of doing it, she said most people see it coming. In the hiring, she said, it is remarkable how people come unprepared for a job interview. She used to meet people because she was in the hospitality business. And she said the number of people, she once went for a big job interview. She went to a restaurant and the guy was at the bar drinking. People would be smoking, so the first words out of their mouth, you could taste, hear, smell the nicotine. And so this leads me into the Charlie Strong situation. Charlie Strong's going to get fired, and Charlie Strong knows he's going to get fired. When's the last college football coach that got fired and didn't see it coming? It's not that I don't feel sympathy, but and forget about their salaries. All these guys, like Les Miles, saw it coming for 2 months. Of course Charlie Strong is going to get fired 3 years into it. 3 years into it, they can't beat Kansas. And when you look at Jim Harbaugh turning it around in 1 year, Clay Helton in 1 year, Urban Meyer in 5 games, what are you going to do? I've always believed that traditional powers, you get mid to your second year. I've got to see marked improvement by the middle of the second year. That's when Pete Carroll's Trojans, Nick Saban's Crimson Tide, Harbaugh, about middle of this point, you're like, could they play for the national title? Now, at a non-traditional power, whatever, West Virginia, TCU, I'm going to give you 3 full years. Because college football, unlike pro sports, is built for dynasties. Remember, in college football, the best teams don't draft last. They get first dibs on all the good recruits. So that's why you have dynasties in college sports. John Wooden, Coach K, UConn women's basketball. There's all sorts of dynasties in college sports, from USC water polo to the Crimson Tide to UConn women. Pro sports, best teams draft last. In college sports, best teams get the best recruits. And so at the traditional powers, which have always had an advantage in recruiting, Texas, you don't get 3 full years. You could tell. I did think there was a moment when they beat Oklahoma last year. I thought, okay, this is the moment. But they didn't follow it up. And there's no way at Texas. Charlie Strong's not a dope. Of course he's getting fired. And Tom Herman's waiting in the wings. So he just didn't do a good enough job. I mean, Ty Willingham knew he was in trouble at Notre Dame. Charlie Weiss knew he was going to get canned at Notre Dame. You can see it coming for a mile. Think about it. How many football coaches in the last decade have been fired and you're like, whoa, you don't want to know the one? Marty Schottenheimer in San Diego went 14-2 and got fired, and they have never fully recovered. I mean, that's one of the rare ones. I was like, wow, what are they doing? You generally see it coming, especially in sports. Jimmy Johnson's on our show tomorrow. Joel Klatt, Chris Broussard. Thanksgiving week. A lot of people driving and traveling. Be safe. A lot of inclement weather out there. Brought to you by the outrageously dependable Interstate Batteries. InterstateBatteries.com. Let one of those techs test your battery today. Find a location near you, Interstate Batteries. I'll see you in a few hours on Speak for Yourself.